please welcome to the stage, from Duolingo Head of Product Design, Mig Reyes.
Hello, George. Okay, so this is a pretty special day, and it's not special because of the speakers. This is about community. So I have one little request. I like to do this every time I get to hang out with a bunch of my friends, aka designers, is if you are in the audience right now, take your name tag and flip it backwards. Because this is really about us learning each other, and it's really hard to get to know each other's names when you can't really see them. So go ahead and flip those backwards, and if you're watching at home, go in the chat, share your LinkedIn, blast your website, because there's actually a lot of talented people here, and we should probably get to know each other. So let's do that. Look, I have something a little scary to tell you all. I don't work in finance. I'm sorry, I crashed the party. However, as I thought about what I'd love to share with you all today, there's something beautiful about design that unites us all, whether it's finance, language learning, social media. And so my hope is today that if I share some stuff, that you might consider it an investment in yourself, that which over time compounds, and you'll see these gains grow. And let's see, when you're more senior in your career, the dividends pay off. All right, look, I'm trying here. I'm trying to do my best. I'm a graphic designer. I have a bank account. I save. I invest. So I do feel at home here. And I have a lot to share that maybe has to do with all of that and none of that all at once. So I've learned at quite a few places and stumbled along the way, and that's actually what I'm going to share with you all today. Small companies in Chicago and recently in New York, learning to lead at scale at Instagram. I'm going to show some of that work. I've been in management 11 years. I'm very tired. But I did make it to Duolingo, so I'm certainly going to share some of that work as well today. Now, when I think about really good design, I think several of our speakers today talked about this. They talked about craft and language. Thank you, by the way. And by the way, if you sat down when your Duolingo dropped, I know who you are. But as I thought about design, it is not about only big, sexy work. It's actually the work we do every day for real people. And I really resonate with a lot of the messaging the previous speakers have shared on. And in fact, that's been a mantra for the majority of my career, too, which is what's amazing about what we get to do is we get to care about the mundane. And so a lot of times in my career, I've worked at Instagram, and certainly Duolingo is fun and flashy, but I've also worked for enterprise clients. I've worked for B2B software, and this, more than anything, has really taken me and my teams very far. And so I'm going to share some enterprise work. I had a designer on my team who was working on a new feature. We'll call him Mark. We'll call him Mark because that literally was his name. He was like, hey, Mig, I've got this new feature I'm working on. We're going to add notes to our publishing calendar. And here's how it works. You click this drop down, and then you see this modal. And I was like, all right, OK, I get what you're doing. And Mark, by the way, kind of called himself a UX designer. He did not consider him a visual designer. He was not a UI designer. He was like, I draw boxes and put X's through them, and that's my job. And I'm like, well, Mark, the thing is, we can do better than that. And I think you actually can do better than what you just shared right now. I don't care if you're a UX designer. Real people use this stuff. And so I asked him, Mark, on this notes program or feature you're working on, how do actual people write notes? Here's a pile of sticky notes on the table. How do you do that? Do you ask your colleague to fill out a form and they transcribe it for you onto the note? He's like, no. What do? Well, you just write on the note. I'm like, there you go. So Mark, if you were to do that feature all over again, thinking of that, what would you do? He said, well, what if we could just write on the note itself? I'm like, there you go. We don't have to make this product death by modal. You can actually have some fun with it. And so what we pushed him on and what he really felt proud of was like, oh, wow, I can really do interesting work in some of the smallest places. And he also really loved research. And he realized, wow, you know what? UX research taught me that social media managers also love to color code to organize themselves. And so he thought of all of these new interaction patterns simply because I said, you can be better than that. And this little pocket of the site and this product, it may feel boring to you, but this is where you should start to care. And so Mark really showed up and cared about these little details. But this whole concept of the details, and I think I've heard some of the speakers already share this, is that this is sort of where design gets to show up. And so I actually really think that we should make a big deal of the little things. So I am in Chicago. I was in Chicago in 2020. I got a job offer at Instagram. I moved to New York, and I'm like, hell yeah, I made it. Big city, nothing can go wrong. We got a work memo. It's like, we're just going to stay home for like this week. There's just weird, people are sick or something. That 1 week at home turned into 2 years. And all of us around the globe, really, we were like, oh shit, how do we move forward here? Zuck had a chat with the CEO of Shopify and got incredibly inspired about thinking about shopping. We're all going to be home. We should probably figure out how we help people live their lives at home. So on one hand, there's shopping, and on the other hand, there's this little startup called TikTok that's about to eat our lunch at Instagram. And so on the design team, we recognize this because we had a really big mission held against us by the executives. Figure out how to make shopping work at Instagram, figure out this thing called Reels, and my team and I were like, here's our moment to finally refresh the entire UI of Instagram and start to care about the little details we've started to forget about. So this is Instagram over the course of the few years, and it really wasn't updated, especially by the time I got there. And so in 2020, we said, how do we rethink this? But not only rethink this, but simultaneously, we have to figure out how to work together. I've never met any of these coworkers yet. I was just starting at the company. So we're like fumbling through Zoom. We have a big mission to redo all of Instagram's UI and figure out all these new products all at once, all at home. So I'm going to skip all the workshopping in the process and kind of show you what we ended up shipping. So this is, on the left is the old version of Instagram, and on the right is the new one. And really, the things that I was most excited our team did are the things that you probably could barely see. So we are matching iOS and Android standards. We are actually removing things, simplifying things, creating space for things, letting things breathe. How about actually just picking a true black instead of 42 shades of gray that thousands of designers at the company are going to mess up because the design system doesn't have it nailed down yet? How about updated text styles? And just, again, things that we really need to care about. We're paid money to care about these things. Bolder iconography, and then defining height for Android. By the way, this is maybe more for US-based designers, but if you want to be unbelievably employable in this world, think about Android and get very good at Android. Most of the world's on Android, and so for us in the US, all we thought about was our iPhones. And so we made sure that we really cared about these details even for Android. And again, spacious, pills, et cetera, the works. And even as we thought about improving type, improving the shades of black, we looked at it and said, not good enough. So there's a designer on my team, Jez. He's an iconographer. He saw this work happening and said, what if I redid literally every icon in Instagram? We're like, I don't know, we're all working from home. What else are we going to do? So he did. And he looked at every single icon in our app and said, I don't think these actually communicate what we want them to be communicating. So not only did he rethink the metaphors, but he actually went down to the detail of how are these rendering on the pixel grid and modern devices. Turns out they weren't rendering quite well on the top, and so he redrew all of our icons to make sure that they showed up perfectly no matter the device. Not just on iPhones, but certainly Android and web as well. And this was a moment at Instagram where we could say, oh, look, we might as well tighten some things up. So for the first time ever, we defined grids and spacing. Tell me if you've heard this one, because a lot of other designers at Instagram just saw another designer's Figma file, copied it, pasted it, and said, design system. So this is what we said, we should probably fix this while we're here. Now, the thing about working at Instagram is that we had such a pride in the craft, in the details, in the things that most people don't care about. And when you care about something so much, you also care about how you present it, how you share it. So we had a culture at Instagram where we actually made hype out of every work we shared. And so this is internal work to internal colleagues, but we shared this about our all-new design system internally to not just everyone at Instagram, but everyone at Facebook and WhatsApp and Messenger. And we shared this. the funny part is, these are all just coworkers in the pictures and all the avatars. But wait for it. Wait for it. Ooh. Over the top, maybe. Does it show we care? Definitely. And the thing that, look, who works in design systems or works on a design system? Shout out to you all. You are my people. Keep your hands up, actually, if you have a hard time with adoption and getting people to use it. Look, everyone kept their hands up. When you show to everybody else how much you care about a thing, other people go, oh, okay, this is maybe worth me using as well. And so this is sort of the infectious spirit we wanted on our team was, we care, you should care. And so everyone ended up caring. And all of these things about caring about the details, caring about the mundane, these are things that I picked up on that I could tell Duolingo really cared about. So when they came to me and said, we are way too big as a design team now, we need a dedicated head of product design, are you in? And I was, because I knew from the start in my first chats with them, this is what they cared about. And so all of these things that I've shared kind of show up at the work that we do at Duolingo today, and so I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes here. This is Duo. He is the one actually writing all of these annoying push notifications for you all. So I'm going to show you the behind the work, but what's funny is before I did this talk, I actually just Googled, does Duolingo, and then saw what autocomplete shared. The world doubts us still. We've been around 12 years. Does Duolingo work? Some of the ambitious people say, does Duolingo actually work? Just in case, you know. But it really does. And so is anybody here in research, UXR? Great. These people are your friends, designers. This is how you add legitimacy to your product, your business, your company, your org. And so I'm going to show you, first and foremost, as a teaser and a bit of a primer on how Duolingo actually works. These are research principles that actually map to how we think about design as well.
Why do millions of people use Duolingo every day? We have a method to make serious learning fun. The Duolingo method uses years of learning science to help design bite-sized interactive lessons. Lessons that engage your brain so you learn deeper and faster without even realizing it. Studies show that learning with Duolingo can even outperform learning at a university. So why not maximize your time and learn the way you learn best with Duolingo?
So there's about 5 principles we call the Duolingo method. For the sake of time, I'll share 4. And I'll also share with you not just how this is effective learning, but how it's also just kind of plainly good design. So one of the things we think a lot about is just learn by doing. In fact, that's actually how I kind of learned how to invest. I said, I don't know, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. I haven't lost all my money yet. So far, I think I'm learning. But this is a principle we think about when we do executive product reviews and executive design reviews, is how quick are you getting to the action we want learners to think about? So here, I'll just also show by doing. This is what happens when you start a standard lesson in Duolingo.
Bonne journée.
I'll stop there, because notice we didn't have a wizard or tooltips, or we didn't say, welcome to lesson 1, where we teach you about dairy product. No, it's just, which one's cheese? I think that's cheese. And that's how we start to get people to learn right away. And when we think about design, we ask our designers, you're very scared of prototyping. Have you started yet? Well, no, I haven't signed up for classes. I didn't find you. No. Open up Figma, open up Origami, get in there, learn by doing. One of the other principles we start to think about too is focus on what matters. When you learn a language, we want to get to the core concepts that's actually going to help you have a conversation when you're new to Austria, for example, my first time. But also when we think about design, There's a lot of stuff we could do. Good design is what we shouldn't do. And so we really think about focusing on what matters. And certainly you know my friend Duo, the green owl, but our world is much bigger than that. This is Junior, so I'm going to have Junior help us show something new we've cooked up at Duolingo. We're calling it adventures. And so the fun thing on Duolingo, you can tap some tokens, learn some words, cool, but what about practicing all of this? So for us, we wanted to push ourselves as designers and say, how do you move around a world and find yourself in situations like, I'm at a coffee shop, I could really use an espresso macchiato and a sparkling water, and how do you actually get people to try that out? And so this is a real-life sort of simulation, if you will, with our characters as you've learned language. But these design challenges have been pretty interesting for us because all of a sudden, as product designers, we're also now using story as a design mechanic. So for us, we're like, oh, wait, doesn't anyone work at Pixar? No, me neither. Let's just figure this thing out, I guess. So there's, all right, what if we had discover and moments of conflict and then finally resolve conflict? A very simple 3-step story, and that was enough for us to go, we could probably ship something pretty interesting and meaningful here. So I'm going to show you the proprietary behind-the-scenes undercover software we use to create these adventures. It's called Figma. Has anyone heard of it? Look, we're using what we had at our disposal, and these comments right here are literally just 2 people on our design team, Greg, who's been at the company for a decade, Joey, a phenomenal illustrator, and we're just making up stories about pizza in Figma files. And this is how we start to think about what do people in the real world want to try out. We talk about design systems a lot. It's usually components, buttons, check boxes, et cetera. What about illustration systems? So for me, this has been such a cool wave for the illustrators, the artists, the animators, to have their moment and say, look, we can also think in systems, and in fact, we should think in systems. What did you do for work today? I drew cans of tomato sauce. What did you do today? And so it's been a very fun way for us to see products come to life. And our old product, or the start of our product, was these flat 2D characters. To do adventures was to redraw and re-rig everything into 3D. And so again, just these details we really started to care about. So imagine you're learning English. This is what an adventure would be like if you tried it today.
Hi, Lily. What do you need? Oh, right. We forgot mushrooms. The mushrooms are in the refrigerator, right? Great! Put the mushrooms on Bee's pizza.
And that's it. And we can get people to have fun, and education all of a sudden feels like a game you want to play versus something you're forced to do. Now, learning over time, as does investing, when you see the dips and you're like, oh, shoot, I should probably sell, means you kind of have to stay motivated. And we think about this a lot as it comes to learning, but also in design, where we will try lots of things, and most of those things won't work right away. But you keep iterating and you keep trying. And so the other thing we think about is just because you think you've made it and you did a good thing doesn't mean you're done. I love when my friends ask me, why do you guys have over 50 designers? The screens are done. What? Like, you guys are full-time employed forever? Yes, actually, and here's why. It says we think that our job as designers to continually improve. So from 2017 to about a year ago, this was the state of our feature called Achievements. And when you learn on Duolingo and you accomplish big things, we'll give you badges. The thing is, our CEO, Luis, said, it's hard to imagine something 10 times better than what we already have. I don't know if you've ever told that to a designer. I don't think it could be any better, but holy cow, did our team go, hold my beer. Because, Luis, this thing could be better, give us the space to. And so all of our illustrators, our artists, got together with product designers and said, let's show our CEO up, and let's show him that this could be better. And so through rapid sketching, workshops, and just playing around, we ended up redoing our badges to look more like this, where it's way more fun, you feel way more proud to earn them, and it also evolves our characters. It also evolves the world that Duolingo is starting to enter within, which is yours. And even our UI language started to change, where we're letting art start to dictate the UI. And so for us, we're kind of breaking away from the simple plain white and dark backgrounds to something a little more colorful. We would never have known if somebody didn't say, it's probably good enough. We don't stand for that at Duolingo. And so you go from years of legacy like this, very simple, extremely generic, doesn't scream Duolingo, to, oh, wow, that's definitely Duolingo, all right. And so this really mattered to us, but also more importantly mattered to the learners on our app. The final principle I'll share with you is one that I hope everyone here can resonate with, which is feel the delight. I know Cesar was a PM, there you are. Any other PMs in the room? Cool, okay, just two. Sorry, y'all. This is our room. And delight, go to your PM and say, by the way, delight equals daily active users. Delight equals revenue. Delight equals time spent. How do we know? We do it and then we test it. And we actually ship features that measure the efficacy of craft, of delight. And we ship only the best ones. And this is a compounding thing for our learners where the product feels better, but also they're telling us it's actually better. So I'm going to show you the very beginning thing all over again. And this time I just want you to listen.
Bonne journée.
Notice that the chime gets a little higher. We're starting to celebrate you a little bit more. We run A/B tests on things like this all the time, and we actually can see and differentiate this chime when it sounds more fun and cute, gives you way more daily active users than this sound, which kind of just feels neutral and utilitarian. No sound at all gives you this result. Some sound gives you this result. So we really care about delight and actually understanding its impact on learning and business results as well. And certainly we do document all of this in our design system, not just what it looks like, the colors. Every good design system has that, but what about when the sound should play? What about the timing, the easing, and down to the detail of the millisecond, how things should really unfold? And we go actually off platform too. This is actually where we started to push our brand. So this is our widget. I was low-key creeping on a lot of your phones, and I'm very thankful. Many of you have the widget installed, so thank you. But the thing about the widget is it's a reflection of Duo and how happy he is with you. As the day goes on and you haven't done your lesson, Duo knows. And in fact, when it's nighttime, Duo definitely knows and has a cry for help. Because he really just wants you to get your lesson in for the day. And sadly, if you miss, we'll freeze it and you have put Duo on ice. The good thing is, though, that when you extend your streak, that Duo will celebrate you and the streak itself. And so we're thinking, should the streak be a character in and of itself? And so there's Duo skipping with fire, because we really are just proud of you. But it didn't just start at the widget. It actually started way back when we started to do our icon for all our apps. Let me tell you, we had a glow up. Far left is how Duolingo started. Far right is where we are today. I think we've done some maturing. But it's not just the classic green one. I think for us, it's how else can Duo show up? Maybe Duo gets sick. Maybe Duo gets tired. But no other company is really doing stuff like this. And so for us, this is where we play. And when we play, we see results. And again, we systematize and understand all of our work. So we break it down in terms of how you should construct Duo and an icon for Duolingo, but also things you should do. We'll give you leeway to, and please definitely don't do, so no melty pumpkin duos at all. And when you think about delight, baking all of this into your work, we know that we've gotten pretty good at teaching language. We've been doing it for a dozen years, and so it's gotten us thinking, if you could teach really well with a few different concepts, what more can you do on Duolingo? And so I'll sort of end that teaser with this.
Pamplemousse.
We're really excited to be able to teach not just French, German, Spanish, but math, music, and we're actually prototyping a couple other topics as well. And how do we do that? Well, there's probably two takeaways I would leave everybody watching at home and everyone here with. Number one, I hope you felt this from the time I got to share, but also the other speakers. We have to create a culture around craft. If it matters to us, it definitely matters to the millions and millions of people using our product. What craft is care. And so to craft is to put your care in touch into these products. So everywhere that I've worked, we talk about this daily, whether it's Instagram, Duolingo. In our design critiques, we will say, that button looks a little bit off. It just takes one person to say that, and then the whole room's like, all right, cool, I was feeling that too, and it did look a little bad, so yeah, it's not there yet. And something we picked up at Instagram is we have a phrase, you can bring this back with you at work as well. You go hard on the work, soft on the people. And that, for us, is creating a culture around craft. The last thing I will share is, especially if you're in management, and if you're organizing community and putting together conferences, it's bring together exceptional people. So raise your hand if you are attending George UX Conf. Okay, keep them up. Nope, yep, I'm one of those speakers that makes you do shit. When I say exceptional people, I do mean us, the animators, the designers, the illustrators, the producers, the researchers, the writers. Yes, and product managers too. We will get along. But we are what makes great experiences. And it is the responsibility of your leadership team and of each other to bring each other together. Actually, no, one last thing I would ask you all to remember. Please, do your Duolingo. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mig. Yeah, thanks to Duolingo, I was able to learn, I was still learning my German, so danke. And we're going to have a few questions. So if you're ready to ask a question, Mig, please raise your hand. Yeah, I can see. And we will start with the most voted question from our remote attendees. How does Duolingo design team test the impact of motion design on user engagement and learning outcomes?
The question is, how does Duolingo test efficacy of motion? Well, first, to even get there, as a leadership team, we have to ask for it from our team. We will say in product reviews and executive reviews, this feels a little boring. We will say, this is it, this is the best, I think we could do better. And so first, as a leadership team, we are asking, please put a little more love into it. And then from there, we do standard experimentation design, where it is, we will do a no motion test, a motion that's short, motion that's long, run A/B tests through all of it, and then see how's the data showing up. And so do it, test it, see what happens.
A/B testing all the way. Okay, so do we have a question? Yeah, please. The mic here in the middle. Thank you.
Thank you. I would address the elephant in the room. Do you plan to do learning flows for investments?
Yes. So hopefully you saw the trailer, Duolingo Math. It's not just 2 + 2. The ideal state we're trying to get to is adult math. Let's say you go to dinner with 4 of your friends. How do you very quickly calculate the tip? If you are thinking about investment and compounding interest and savings rate, we want you to be able to look at a problem set very quickly and go, this savings account's better for me than this savings account. So yes, not quite an elephant. It's a real thing. We want to help people get good with numbers, and that includes money.
Yeah, you can. If you want to start investing, start with math. So
yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Mig. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.